So this is where we're going to start. Today we're going to do being prepared for the return of the King Messiah. For the return. He hasn't even gotten here yet, but this is the time he's born. But at any rate, so these feasts, this is the 7-branch menorah, and all of these feasts, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. And I was going to get a bowl. Oh, I forgot. Okay. We'll just do it this way. There they are. You can read those a little bit easier. Those are the 7 feasts. These happen in the spring of the year. This 7 weeks later, and now these happen in this in the month 7th month of the year, and it's all very interesting. It's kind of like I was going to get a bowl so I could demonstrate this. Excuse me just a minute. I'm going to walk out of the camera. I'm going to come get a bowl because this just would be easy. Okay. So how many months in a year, Stella?
12.
12? Are there still 12? Okay, there's 12 months in a year. So half of 12 is 6. Okay, so half of 12 is 6. So if this was 6 months, let's just say this was 6 months, okay? And this is 6 months. We have half the feasts happen in this group, and half the feasts happen in this group. Does that make sense? It's really, really simple. Passover happens in the first month, right? And 6 months later would be the beginning of the 7th month, right? So, Passover. Feast of Trumpets happens on the first day of the 7th. It's really that simple. Now, here's the thing. So, if there's a 6-month cycle of feasts, and there's from one to the end one, that's kind of like the sun coming up and the sun going down. And now we're going to enter into a dark time where lots of funny stuff can happen from the 7th month on back around to Passover. It's kind of like the dark side of the moon. Does that make sense? A lot of crazy stuff can happen from the 8th month on. Let's see. World War II.
Bombing of Pearl Harbor, right?
That's, yeah, bombing of Pearl, yeah. All this stuff starts happening. It's crazy. At any rate, there's some correlations there. At any rate, 6 months and 6 months, just so you kind of have that idea. All right. What am I doing here? Okay, so we're preparing for the Messiah to be born. That's what this time of year, Feast of Tabernacles, is about. You build a sukkah, you enjoy the harvest. This is what it says in Deuteronomy 16. You shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days, when you have been gathered from your threshing floor and from your winepress, and you shall rejoice in your feast. What's the word? Rejoice? This is a happy time, okay? Rejoice in your feast. Not only just you, but you and your son and your daughter and your female servant and your male servant and your servant and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are with you in your gates. 7 days you shall keep the sacred feast to Yahuwah, your Elohim, in the place which Yahuwah chooses, because Yahuwah your Elohim will bless you in all of your produce and in all of the work of your hands, so that you surely rejoice. I submit to you that if American Christianity had a grasp of this, and we were all kind of doing this stuff, this country would not be in such a mess as we're in today. We're in such a mess is because we're ignoring a lot of what God's Word says. Okay, so if I turn these around this way and I put them kind of in a list form, we've kept Passover. We've kept the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We did First Fruits. We did Pentecost. We did the Feast of Trumpets. We did the Day of Atonement. At least we broke the fast with Atonement. We did a bunch of reading this last week. And now we start the Feast of Tabernacles, okay? Steve, this is the next slide. It's the one I wanted to show you. Yeah, you see, thank you. I did this for the optometrist, okay. I was searching for a slide this morning. Lord, if we could just have a world view. Our whole world view should be seen through the feasts of the Lord. Those should be such a part of our life that it's our filter. Because they're in the Torah, right? And the Torah is basically the reason for the feasts. It makes things look a lot differently, doesn't it? When you look through that guy's set of glasses, do you see hope or do you see despair?
Hope.
That's what I saw. And balance, even.
Those are polarized.
Those are well, you should know.
Lock out horizontal light.
Without the hope that we have in Yeshua, this is what the world looks like to a lot of people. Can you see why things are so dark in many people's lives? They have no hope. There is no hope. Well, if there's no hope and nobody gives a hoot, then what do I care what I do?
No order, there's no plan.
There's no order, no plan, right? And hopelessness.
So are these kingdom colors left?
I'm sure they are. I want, they're $19.95, and if you act today, you can get 2 pair. You just have to pay extra shipping and handling. But wait.
What a little spray.
When our worldview is seen through the feast, we can see how God's plan is being worked out. Okay, so that's why studying about the feasts and keeping the feasts and figuring out how they fit into our lives and how God fits into our lives as a result of them is really important. So remembering the birth of Yeshua is important, and it's kind of an overview how the feasts of the Lord present the birth of Yeshua at Tabernacles by following the development of a human fetus in the womb. And that's what we're going to take a look at today. For those of you who have not seen this presentation before, you're just going to be amazed. You're just going to go, really? Really? Okay. We're going. What did I say? Oh, this was an important line. It's kind of like, this is our job right now. We are to prepare a place for him to come. They prepared a place for him to be born. We're to prepare a place for him to come back, right? To return. It's about preparing a place for him. And if we're just going to be in a, like Deb was saying, in a world of chaos, where's the place for him to come back to? Right?
Well, the Mormons seriously have a landing pad for him in Salt Lake City. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
A landing pad.
What size of craft are they preparing for?
I don't know.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So this is a kind of a Moses did you know kind of thing. Wonder when he wrote this stuff down about the Feast of Tabernacles and about all the feasts, if he had any idea. An interesting note related to the 7 feasts of Yahuwah is that they are also the outlines of the formation of a human being. Okay, we'll start with that. A normal, I'm talking normal, average, typical pregnancy lasts 280 days. There's Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Good. 280 days from the last menstrual cycle to the day of birth. Okay, from the last menstrual cycle to the day of birth, on an average, we're talking on the average, on the whole, on a normal delivery would be 280 days, and you divide that by 7, comes out to exactly 40 weeks. Let's take a look. A typical woman. Is there anybody in this room that's a typical? No, don't answer that. I don't think they found the typical woman, but the typical textbook woman we're talking about here. Okay. If there is such a thing, with a typical 28-day cycle, okay, 28 days. 28 days equals the life cycle of the moon. Every 28 days, we have a new moon. And we're so smart, we decided we'd have calendars that have 30 days or 31 days, so that's why our calendars don't match up with God's calendar. But 28 days is a life cycle of the moon, and the life cycle of human potential, okay? So that's what we should have seen on the 29th. Some people here in Loveland actually saw the moon on the Feast of Tabernacles. at the Feast of Trumpets. They said it was only there for a few minutes, and it was really, really faint, but they saw it. And at any rate, so this is like the moon on the first day. That's a healthy moon on the first day. So 28 days, life cycle of the moon, and life cycle of human potential as well. Okay, that little tiny little thing. If our typical woman with a 28-day cycle gets pregnant in the first month of the biblical year, okay, not every woman gets pregnant on the first month of the, but our typical woman, for example, gets pregnant on the first month of the biblical year, let's follow the development of that baby and see what happens to it, okay? This normal pregnancy lasts 280 days. And this is Joel, you have a good, from an embryo all the way up, 10 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks, 26 weeks, 32, 36, 40 weeks, ready to go. How old was Cash when he was born?
27 weeks.
27 weeks. That little guy was right here.
2 pounds, 3 ounces.
2 pounds, 3 ounces.
9.5 pounds now.
Can't keep a good man down. Okay. All right, so this is what happens. 28-day cycle, first month, okay? A typical, the egg presents itself on the 14th day. The egg presents itself on the 8th day. On the 14th day. And Passover happens to be the 14th day of the first month. Month 1. 14th day. 14th day of the first month, the egg appears. Okay? We go from here. The egg that is released from the ovary on day 14 must be fertilized within 24 hours. There's a 24-hour opportunity for the potential of life. That's not very much time, is it? So I went to the Google today and asked, when can a woman get pregnant? And this is just to confirm this, the day prior to ovulation, which is the day the egg presents itself, and the day of ovulation itself being your 2 most fertile days. Once the egg has gone, usually within a day of ovulation, you cannot get pregnant until after your next menstrual cycle has started. 24-hour time of potential. Well, the egg must be fertilized within 24 hours or it will pass on. That's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which begins on the day following Passover, on the 15th day of the month. Right? This egg that is released from the ovary on day 14 must be fertilized within 24 hours. And what happens on the 15th day of the first month? Right here. This represents Passover. What's the next day? What starts that day? The 15th day of the first month. Feast of Unleavened Bread. Feast of Unleavened Bread. Begins on the 15th day of the first month. Everybody's eating unleavened bread for a while, for a week. And then the first of, I think this is so fascinating. The Feast of First Fruits is observed anywhere from 2 days to 6 days after Passover, okay? Right? Because Passover can happen on any day of the week, but first fruits can happen. And what was the unusual thing of Yeshua's first fruits? It could have happened 2 days afterwards or 6 days after Passover. But his happened on the third day. Why? Because he was going to have to be resurrected back to life after the third day, right? Okay. So this egg, if it's utilized, then travels to be implanted in the womb. Sometime during that week, depending on how fast it travels, some are faster than others, right? Down the fallopian tube, 2 to 6 days. I'm looking at this and I'm going, Lord, it's like the fallopian tube is the river of life, isn't it? This is where the pregnancy takes place. Egg is released, and the sperm somehow makes it up, and if they meet here somewhere in the river, boom. The egg is fertilized, and the egg is going to go down here and implant in the womb. Isn't that amazing?
That's just coincidence.
It's just how things work, right?
By the goalie.
Got by the goalie, yeah.
By the goalie.
2 to 6 days in that fallopian tube, the fertilized egg will attach or implant in the womb, which has been prepared to receive and nourish or protect it. That's why every month the womb is prepared. It's prepared, right? And if it doesn't, well, there's nothing to catch today. Nothing to catch today, guys. It sloughs off, goes away, right? There you go. Life potential. Right there. Oh, well, in case you can't figure that out, there's the womb and there's the fallopian tube. Okay. So now we're in the counting of the Omer, which is 50 days later, right? 7 weeks plus 1 day is 50 days. We start here, we come, and we go around. So 50 days later, what happens? What has happened to that little guy? 50 days later is what day? Shavuot.
Maybe a heartbeat.
Way before then. Oh, here's an important part. The children of Israel also traveled to be implanted in the womb of protection out in the wilderness, right? I love this picture. This is just a great. You are here. Wondering where in the world they're going. 8 weeks. At the end of 7 weeks, at 8 weeks, this is the size of a little baby. Right here. Look at your hand. And imagine that fitting right there in your hand. 8 weeks later, it has fingers and toes and arms and legs. I guess we'd have to have arms. It's got fingers. So arms and legs and fingers and toes and a nose. Yeah, well, ask your mom about that. Yeah. 50 days. We can now tell by just looking at this that this is a human. This is not a tadpole. This is a human baby, right? Okay, 50 days. It takes time to grow. There's a long, hot summer coming up, so there's a period of general growth for every baby. The senses start to develop after holding it in your hand, and it's starting to grow. Sight is not the first thing to develop because there's nothing to see down there. But hearing is the first sense to develop. The hearing develops on the first day of the 7th month.
That's also the last sense to go away.
When you die? Well, first?
It's the last sense to go away when you die.
For the last, yeah, wow.
Here, people that have survived being resuscitated, I personally have talked to them, and they said they heard us while they were dying. And they told us, you said this, you said this, you said this.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Wow.
What you say to a dying person?
yes. Oh, yes.
I'm glad you're gone.
So, how appropriate for the Feast of Trumpets, and the command of the Feast of Trumpets is to hear the shofar, not to blow blow the shofar. The command is to hear the sound of the shofar. Hear the sound of God's voice, literally is what it's talking about. On the first day of the 7th month, the baby's hearing is developed. For the first time, it can hear and distinguish sounds from the womb. Okay, the next feast day is Yom Kippur. Happens to be 10 days after the Feast of Trumpets. On the 10th day of the 7th month, the hemoglobin of the blood changes from that of the mother. They don't share blood, but hemoglobin. Okay, I don't even know what that means. To the change from the mother to the self-sustaining baby. Okay, that baby can't live without its mom before then.
Hemoglobin is the part of the blood that contains the red blood cells.
The red blood cells? Okay. But not the red blood cells itself? Oh, all right. The blood begins to change. Fetal blood must change to adult blood so that the baby can take its oxygen and breathe its own air when it's born. That change occurs on the 10th day of the 7th month. The blood begins to change. And what happens at Yom Kippur is all about sprinkling the blood on the mercy seat. And then 5 days later, today we're day number 4 after Yom Kippur. And tomorrow is going to be the 5th day later. 5 days later is the 15th day of the month. 15th day of the 7th month. The lungs become fully developed. And if born then, the baby would have if born before that time, the baby would have a hard time breathing. And that's what little Chase is still going through, right? Because he was born so early. He's still attached, what did I say, Chase? Cash, I'm sorry, Cash. Chase Bank, Cash, anyway. Got those two words mixed up. And he's still on a ventilator to help him breathe, right? Yeah.
What day was that for? 27th week.
In the 27th week. If he'd done it the week before, he probably wouldn't have made it, right? So here we have, just to review here just a bit, the Passover, the egg at Passover time. Isn't that interesting? In Christianity, it's Easter eggs. Joel, why don't I don't know how to get rid of it because I don't have it on my screen. Help.
Oh, you might minimize. You can
There you
click
go.
on view desktop over on the far right of the taskbar.
Okay, well, maybe it's gone. Maybe it's gone.
Show it to restart later. If you leave it, it might just restart it.
No, it won't, because believe me, we're having issues. Okay, but thank you. I just don't know. There we go. All right. So the egg at Passover, it's fertilized 24 hours later. Within 24 hours, when unleavened bread comes along, it attaches at first fruits in the womb, that 2 to 6 day time period. At Pentecost, 50 days later, you could tell that it's a new creation. I don't even know that people even realize that they're pregnant. Well, it used to be we didn't realize we were pregnant till now. They have testing times, I guess. But the hearing is developed at 7 months, first day. The blood on the 10th day of the 7th month. And the lungs, they're able to breathe by the time of tabernacles. They've been able to take a breath. Life is possible at tabernacles. Interesting. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. This square thing here, there's 40 doodahs here. So week 1 right here, life is possible. Right? Life is possible here at Passover. Come down here, 7 weeks. It's Shavuot. It's a recognizable new creation. We know that it's a human being, for sure. Come all the way around down here to the 23rd week, Feast of Trumpets. I counted these all out on the calendar this morning. It all worked. 10 days later, the blood, Yom Kippur, and 5 days after that is Tabernacles, which is the 26th week. Now, and then, life outside the womb is possible, but it's a whole lot better if he waits until then, right, till the 40th week. Does anybody go, oh? Oh? Did you know this? Do you think this is interesting? It's amazing. You have an astonishing God. So, if we were to... I'm going, okay. From Hanukkah, when the angel announced to Mary that she was going to give birth, from Hanukkah to Tabernacles. Hey, Shane. Hi. Chrissy, hi. Nice to see you. There you go. So from Hanukkah to Tabernacles, when Mary gave birth in Bethlehem, was exactly 40 weeks. Okay? I don't know how God does this. Question? What? Yes?
How can you get a copy of all this?
How can you get a copy of all this? I could turn it into a PDF and send it to you, like on an email. You'd have to have your email up.
I'm recording it.
Joel, I'm sorry, Joel. Joel is recording this and it will be available on a YouTube station near you. Okay? So, it just kind of makes you ask the question, you know the song, Mary, did you know? So we started out, Moses, did you know this when you were writing this stuff out? You didn't know. Mary, did you know this when you were pregnant? Moses, did you know? Mary, did you know? Moses, did you know? I love this. It's incredible. Now, well, Moses, did you know? And now we know. Now you know something that maybe you didn't know before. And I just end it with this. Life, it's a terrible thing to waste. And to think what our country is doing to babies now. Harvesting their organs and killing them and after they're born and just letting them. I can't even fathom of people doing that to people.
Yeah.
They're human beings. It made me, I was out taking a walk this last week, and there was a bug on the sidewalk right in front of me, and I actually stepped over it. Yay! I thought you'd be proud of me. All right. Well, he came to tabernacle with us, and it's kind of like we want to say tomorrow. We will say happy birthday. It's the happy birthday of the Messiah. Because he came to tabernacle with us. Now here's the thing of this week, and the importance of this week, I think. I like this concept of going from the sukkah, which we're going to be building beginning tomorrow afternoon, to the huppah. And the huppah, for those of you who don't know, is the ceremonial covering that Jewish people get married under. It's called a huppah, and it's a covering. Okay? So Sukkot is all about the journey from the sukkah to the huppah, which guess what happens in the same week? Not Christmas. Not Christmas. From the sukkah, when he came, to the huppah when he's coming back. The wedding rehearsal. Yes, it's all about the wedding rehearsal. So from the sukkah, so it looks kind of like this. From the sukkah, when we go, oh, isn't it? It's a place prepared that they prepared for him. a place that they prepared for him so he could come the first time as a baby to the chuppah. And I'm telling you, he's been preparing a place for you this whole time. You think he's been doing nothing for the last 2,000 years? No. He's preparing that place. And it looks like the kingdom of God. And right now, to the rest of the world, it looks really messy. But I'm telling you, that's what's happening out here. First, it's a great big cleanup job, right, Jeff? And the cleanup on aisle 6 is happening even as we speak. So he's been preparing a place for you. Ours won't look quite like this, but isn't that beautiful? Oh, it would look like that. So I hope that you all got the email last night that has the schedule, what we're going to be doing for this. But we're going to be doing a lot of things. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be joy, and we're going to eat a lot. We're going to eat about fruit, and it's going to be about bread and about wine and all that kind of thing. And we're going to build a sukkah. And but we're also going to take a look at this concept of a bride, and for you guys, this is when we say bride, you think, well, you were a groom once, or you're going to be a groom once, or something, so this is not Yeshua's bride. It's not like it's a woman. So I don't want you to be put off or offended by that. It's not that it's a woman. I will remind you, when he created Adam out of the dust of the earth and he blew into his nostrils, he was creating this guy to help him run this creation thing. It's a business partner, if you will. It's a friend. It's a partner. Now the woman that he built, men are going to build pizza. I love this concept, Shane. Men are going to build pizzas. That's what Joel tells me. Men build pizzas, women make them. But God literally built the woman. The Hebrew word that he took her out, he made Adam from out of the dust of the earth. He said, that's really cool, And then Adam wasn't happy with that, because everybody else has it. Anyway, so he built a woman. He took the rib from the side of Adam and he built her. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, but this whole concept, and I know what I was going to say. I was going to admit, it's, Chrissy, we got to admit it. It's the women who mess things up, okay? We mess things up. Don't be so fast to agree. Guys are all agreeing, which is why the women need the guys, because without the guys, the women would just go floating off into. But women are we're built out of the Spirit of God. We're very different from men. You guys are made out of the earth, and we're made out of, and then God blew the breath in, but we're good stuff. Okay, we're made out of good stuff, but we're much more, I don't know, in tune with with spiritually or something. It's easier, or emotionally. Yeah, boy, we got emotions, don't we?
We have to nurture the babies. We have to build warriors.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you. Get your fellow guys to help you with completing my sentences, because that's very important. Yeah. No. You see, we're stuck in a situation where we need one another. So there you go. And it's a beautiful thing to behold. But at any rate, God, when we're talking about the bride this week, and I'll remind you that the Hebrew language is uses masculine and feminine forms, words. We don't do that in English, so it's kind of hard to grasp that. But his nation Israel, it's a feminine word. Okay? His nation Israel, his bride, his partner, his business partner, right? His companion. That's why he refers to it as the bride. And the very word bride itself, and we'll talk about this again a little later, literally means perfect. It's the word kala, and it means perfect, complete. So what we're trying to do is as we're learning about him, and we're finding out that, oh my gosh, this guy, look at to the extent that he went to redeem us, Russ. He came God came and became he became one of us. That would be like Deb going out and becoming a sparrow so she could help some little sparrow build a nest or something. I mean, it's fantastic. That's a fantastic concept. He loves us that much that he would care enough to become, not only just become one of us, but to absorb all the stupid stuff that we've done in our past. And will do in our future, probably. Right? He paid the price. He paid the price for our redemption. Now he's expecting us, okay, now that I paid the price, would you please sanctify yourselves? Set yourself apart from the rest of the world out there. Study my word and find out what it is that I like. Isn't that what any bride would do? Isn't that what any bride would do? Did you want to know what kind of food he liked to eat before you married him? Did you ask him? Did you ask him what his favorite color was? What kind of shirts do you, what kind of underwear do you like? You know, I mean, really. Not on the first date, no. But that's, we would call that prayer, sitting down and having a conversation with God, because I'm telling you, he loves to talk to you. He will talk to you. Last night, I'll tell you, I was going through this, and or yesterday afternoon, and last night when I went to bring it back up, do you think I could find it anywhere? It was like it was gone, and I'm going, boy, I tell you, the Lord and I had a real conversation. And before I went to bed last night, he brought it back to me. I looked through it. You have no idea how many files are on that computer. I looked through every single one. And all of a sudden, there it was. I love him so much. He really does care. He really, really does. He does.
A little blessing this week.
Yes, sir.
Kelly drives for a living. She lost her driver's license.
Oh.
And she looked everywhere. I said, Kelly, I'm going to pray you come back. Dad, it's gone. She's going to go get a new driver's license. You will find it. But it's gone. She opened up her phone case, and there was her driver's license. I said, thank you. That was a day later.
That was a day later. God.
Little bitty, teeny, tiny.
little bitty, teeny, tiny blessings. And,
Little ones are big ones.
yeah.
A little ones are big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still an answer to prayer.
No.
An answer to prayer.
It's an answer, yes. It's an answer to prayer. Yes, please.
When you gave Deb as the example of trying to transfer to a sparrow,
Yeah.
there's an actual story of an actual man who was defiant against God, and his wife tried all the time. Would you come to church? Would you come to church? Maybe this week, or maybe for Easter, or whatever. And no, absolutely no, just nothing to do with it. He was just adamant against God. And one time when she went for something special, he was working in the garage, and this little sparrow got stuck in there, and it would not listen, obey, cooperate, nothing. He shut the door. He thought, okay, if I open the door, it'll fly out in the sun, in the light. Nothing he could do. He was so frustrated, he was actually upset. 2 hours later, nothing would happen. And all of a sudden, he began to get the picture. So God did for him. He became something
If
else.
I could just become one of them, I could tell him,
He figured that out. He
right?
says, if I could just be one of them, and bam, hit him in the face.
Yeah.
And he just dropped to his knees and
Yeah.
accepted Christ as Savior.
That's awesome. And sometimes that's exactly what it takes. He's got to pop us in the head with our own set of circumstances before he gets our attention. He's a good God, and we get to celebrate that all this week. So we're going to be looking at some things like runaway brides and portraits of the bride in the Old Testament and in the New Testament and so forth. And so I think you'll like it. So if you can come to as many of these little things, and they're going to be real short. I'm not going to stand up here and talk for an hour. They'll be real short little vignettes kind of thing to go along with the rest of the stuff. And we're going to eat a lot, and we're going to laugh a lot, I hope. So you don't want to miss Tuesday night. I mean, men who build pizza, that's going to be hysterical. I promise. The activity that we have for later in the evening.
This has been a presentation of Fellowship of Messiah. with teacher Susan Miller. Video editing by Joel Thompson. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up icon below the screen on the left, and subscribe by clicking the bell icon below this video and to the right, to be notified of each new video we post. Know someone else who'd love this video? Click the arrow pointing to the right in the upper right-hand corner of this video and share. Until next time, Shavua Tov. Have a good week. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you His everlasting peace and harmony in every area of your life. In Hebrew, that is, Yivarekeka Yahuwah v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Yahuwah panav alecha v'yikuneka, Yisa Yahuwah panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom.